Welcome to another offline video. For this video, I'll be playing as Loki, the trickster god from the Battle of Legends Volume 3 set, who gives out his cards to his opponents to his own benefit. We'll be playing against Ezir on Moon Knight, the agent of Khonshu from the Marvel Redemption Row set, who forcefully alternates between three forms or stances. Two gods from the Marvel world meet in Santa's workshop, though one looks a bit different this time around. Both players do a double maneuver for their first turns, both getting closer to the center, eager to throw hands at each other. If you're unfamiliar with how Moon Knight works, he turns from Moon Knight who can move faster, Khonshu who hits harder, and Mr. Knight who defends better, in that order. I maneuver towards Moon Knight who is currently Khonshu. I attack with a Shapeshifter into a we're all in this together, and I choose to turn Shapeshifter into a 6. Khonshu is one of the hardest hitters in the entire roster, but you can't be too afraid of fighting back against him. Otherwise, you let him play the game at his own pace. The conveyor belts move Moon Knight one space, meaning he can't double attack me. This was mine and Ezir's first time playing in this map, so we didn't really understand the power of the conveyor belts until a bit further into the game. Khonshu attacks Loki with a totally sane thing to do, which is now a 4 into my malicious flighting. I take 1 damage from combat and then 2 more ping damage, and since Moon Knight is Khonshu, he doesn't take the auto damage from his card. I hit back with a looking for trouble into his 3 value feint because he's now Mr. Knight. Then, I attack with a Shapeshifter into yet another feint. This one was worse for me since I don't deal any damage at all, but he's 2 feints down and Moon Knight is 1 feint away from being completely feintless. Moon Knight backs off into the end of the conveyor belt, drawing cards and then eventually jumping off to the top right space of the map. I reposition to the center of the map, not quite feeling like maneuver boosting to attack. Moon Knight uses his ability to move 2 spaces. Afterwards, he plays Madness Will Keep You Alive, healing and effectively choosing to gain an action. Moon Knight maneuvers in and attacks using a Fist of Khonshu into a malicious flighting. In many games I've tried, malicious flighting feels like one of Loki's worst cards, mainly being used for the boost tree. But in fast-paced games, it's basically a 3 value regroup. I attack Khonshu with a Looking for Trouble, which he initially defends using a totally sane thing to do. I send the card back to his hand and I take a look, thinking about what would be a better card for him to defend with. Moon Knight defends instead with the past and present intermingle, meaning he doesn't take any damage. However, it is one less good defense for him to use later. I attack again with Baldur's Downfall into a totally sane thing to do. It is the first trick to be sent off to Moon Knight's hand this game. We both take 2 damage from this fight and the damage race continues. Khonshu immediately uses Baldur's Downfall against me. I defend with a God of Mischief, which means I take no damage from the 6 value attack Khonshu is throwing at me. Khonshu doesn't even take any damage from Baldur's Not Loki effect, and the card is sent off away from Khonshu's hand. Khonshu attacks with a Good Enough for Us into a Freya's Rescue. The interaction is 4 vs 4 and I take no damage, and Moon Knight takes my card and puts it in his hand. My turn begins and the scrap continues as I hit Mr. Knight with a Baldur's Downfall into a That's the Part I Like. Mr. Knight wins the combat with a +1 from his ability, and he takes a look at the top 3 cards of my deck. He chooses to discard a Sindri's Bet, which while not the worst card to lose, is all in all a pretty useful card to have, especially in Khonshu's turns. I attack again with an Underhanded into a feint. Mr. Knight takes no damage, but is now completely feintless. All Shapeshifters, Looking for Troubles, and Underhandeds are now guaranteed to land. Have you noticed that neither one of us has taken a maneuver for 4 turns now? The game gets a lot less complex when both fighters are just trying to throw as much damage towards each other. But it is simultaneously usually a lot less predictable too. When both parties think this is a winning fight, you get something like this. I do a single maneuver since I can move farther with the tricks in Moon Knight's hand. I attack with Levitain into a Freya's Rescue, and I decide to take back Baldur's Downfall. Just like that, there's no more tricks in Moon Knight's hand again. But I do get to heal 3 and have another 4 value attack withdraw effect ready to go. Understandably, Moon Knight pieces out and heads off to the second to last space of the conveyor belt. If one fighter is disadvantaged by a non-stop brawl, they'll usually run away and the match turns into a chase type fight. As I do a double maneuver, trying to move as far away from him as possible, Moon Knight catapults himself in front of me. While at the time I thought I had made a positioning error, I realize now that Moon Knight can basically launch himself to a different yellow zone and be at least 4 spaces away from me no matter where I go. Khonshu attacks with a That's Why I Always Win into a malicious flighting. He boosts with another copy of Travelers, meaning his attack goes up to an 8 and I take a massive 5 damage. Then, Moon Knight decides to back off for his third and last action. For my turn, I just double maneuver around and get some cards back into my hand, ready for the next skirmish. Also, I'll take this chance to apologize for the camera shaking around during the video. We didn't realize that the fan directly behind the phone stand would make it shake so much. Also, there was a cat constantly trying to push against the phone stand. Thankfully, he didn't succeed in pushing it over. I find myself in the conveyor belts while wandering around. We get right back into the action as I maneuver and boost with the Levitain. I attack with a shapeshifter and they're good enough for us, deciding to gain an action instead. Playing high hand count against Loki is genuinely pretty spooky. Between the shapeshifters and underhanded, you have to play in a very weird manner to stop him from getting too much damage off. Speaking of underhanded, I attack with it into a we're all in this together, dealing 3 damage. Once again, we both have the same HP. Moon Knight immediately hits back with an I'm not real into a Freya's rescue. I take no damage and I give him my card. On the other hand, Moon Knight transforms into Khonshu. Moon Knight thinks about what to do, but decides to continue the brawl. Khonshu now attacks with a "that's why I always win" into my God of Mischief. This was the best possible interaction I could have, and I still take 3 damage straight to the face. The fight continues, and I attack with Baldur's Downfall into a Freya's rescue. Trade deal, Mr. Knight takes 1 damage and a trick card to his hand, while I heal 3 HP and a trick card to my discard pile. The 3 damage I took earlier is effectively quote-unquote nullified. Then for my second action, I just take a step back. Moon Knight steps back to the conveyor belt and launches himself into the top right yellow zone. For my turn, I take a breather and run to the other corner of the map. I think at this point our decks are actually similar sizes, so Moon Knight can try to play for fatigue since he's stronger at it than Loki. However, giving Loki breathing space is so much pressure since you just know he's building up a Ragnarok if you try. Moon Knight uses his ability to move to, then does a maneuver. After thinking about it for a while, Moon Knight decides to use a "let your insanity guide you" to reach me. Moon Knight attacks with a "that's the part I like" into my Levitain. It is legitimately impossible for me to lose the combat unless I pick a trick card from Moon Knight's hand. So I pick a Moon Knight card and reveal an I'm not real. I attack with a Baldur's Downfall into a 4-value past and present intermingle, meaning Moon Knight takes no damage. But he now has 1 more trick in his hand to have to deal with as I scurry away from the scene of the crime. Khonshu gives chase and attacks me with my own card. It's a 6-value effectless Baldur's Downfall into a God of Mischief. In hindsight, giving him this card right in his Khonshu turn isn't the best thing to do. But fortunately, I had God of Mischief both times Moon Knight tried to hit me with these. The conveyor belts push Moon Knight back. However, I place him back using the lure scheme, adding another trick to his hand. I attack with a shapeshifter into a we're all in this together, choosing to gain an action. I'm pretty sure Moon Knight knows what's going to happen next, but he can't do anything about it now. Then, I attack with a 6-value Ragnarok into a 3-value totally sane thing to do. Mr. Knight decides not to deal the ping damage, so he just takes 3 damage. Then, the conveyor belts push him back again. The conveyor belts add a neat extra layer of dynamism to the game, stopping the game from devolving into a pure solo melee versus solo melee beatdown. Mr. Knight steps off the conveyor belt and hits me with an undefended I'm not real. I have 2 cards in my hand here and neither of them are defenses. So now we're both down to 5 HP. I first play Lure, then I hit Loki with a 9-value Ragnarok into a let your insanity guide you to close out the game. Apparently this was Moon Knight's only defense in hand now, but even defending with a 4 wouldn't have saved him. Loki wins in one of the funnier games I've played recently. I wonder how we both could have played this matchup differently, but in a straight up brawl type game, Loki is no slouch. If you'd like to support the channel, you can check out my Buy Me a Coffee or my Pixel by ePlayment pages down below. And if you like the content you just saw, make sure to check out the other videos on my channel. Like and subscribe, and see you next time.